start just by saying good morning. The sun is shining. We're here to deliver good news in the midst of what has been challenging times. Joined by our Congressmember Espaillat. Want to also acknowledge that we are in front of Reverend Winley's house here, the soul saving station, and I think that's quite fitting. We have from our business leaders from the chamber, we have our electeds, we have Dr. Dukes, we have longtime leaders like Keith Wright, all here about gun violence, and it's really important. I think Mr. Williams acknowledged other folks. I don't want to leave anyone out. We have Nan, we have our business leaders from Cove, another business leader. So we are well covered in terms of what we're here to talk about today. And so I want to just cut straight to it. We are here specifically in front of a house of faith and with so many leading community leaders to stand together against gun violence. Some of us up here have been doing this for decades, 50 plus years. Yes, Dr. Dukes. And we have seen this spike in violence during the pandemic. And in our office, in the Manhattan DA's office, every day, obviously, we are working on the enforcement side. We are doing gun trafficking cases. Last week, we announced 2 ghost gun cases. But we all know that enforcement is only a piece of the puzzle. We must be investing on the prevention side. And so today, we are here to do that. And just for context, for those who don't know, we're focusing on our youth because we see the youth need our help. On March 13th, a 14-year-old was shot on the grounds of Grant Houses. On March 30th, 2 15-year-old boys were shot on the grounds of the East River Houses. On May 7th, a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old were shot near the corner of 110th Street and 5th Avenue. So we want to reach folks before the incidents. The best case we can bring is the case we don't have to bring because we've intervened. And so while we'll continue to do our enforcement work, we know that we need to really invest. And just for those who don't know, I know those behind me know, but for those who don't know, be a word about youth gun violence. It is a relatively small number of people. I grew up here, I live here. This is a vibrant community full of people who are loving this community. And the gun violence is driven by a very, very small number of people. And what we do in our enforcement work is we focus on those groups. We focus on those groups of people who are doing and driving the violence. But there are so many more that are on the edge and need our assistance that we need to reach out to. We know that what puts you at risk for gun violence is if you are around gun violence. And so using our data and our intelligence, we are looking to invest here. So what are we doing today? We are announcing grants really on the eve of summer because we've all lived through a number of hot summers. And we know what that means for adults, and we know what that means for youth, and most importantly, we know what that means for our violence. So we're here at the beginning of June, the beginning of Gun Awareness Month, to talk about intervention efforts. So the office is going to be awarding $20,000 to up to 10 community-based organizations. Funding is going to be administered as we've done in the past in partnership with the CUNY Institute for State and Local Government, so I want to acknowledge them. Recipient organizations will pay stipends to young New Yorkers, ages 15 to 26 years old, and for 2 different types of programs, either to engage in meaningful programming themselves, and that could be cognitive behavioral therapy, restorative justice, civic engagement, and other projects like that, or projects to beautify public spaces that we know are locations for gun violence. And this is proven that the research shows when we beautify our neighborhoods, violence goes down. The physical enhancement projects will target known violence hotspots and may include things like planting a garden in an empty lot, painting a mural on a corner plagued by violence. Studies have shown that this type of beautification, these type of enhancements, reduce gun violence in the surrounding blocks by up to 30%. Let me just say that again for those who don't know the research. This type of project has been shown to reduce gun violence in the surrounding areas by up to 30%. So the funding will be awarded to organizations that employ models like a credible messenger model or a similar approach with a demonstrated track record of engaging our young people who are at risk for gun violence. And I said it was fitting that we were here in this specific place. I want to unpack that. We are here where the gun violence is. And so priority is going to be given to community-based organizations where we see the highest gun violence. And that's here in Central Harlem, among other places. That is East Harlem, that's Inwoods, that's Washington Heights, and that's the Lower East Side. The application is now on our website. We're encouraging people, as I said, summer is fast approaching, so we're trying to get this up and running and get the meaningful projects done and also the money into the hands of the folks who can make direct impact and complement our enforcement work. As I said from the beginning, June is Gun Violence Prevention Month, and so this is the first of many. We're going to be back up in East Harlem tomorrow with SAVE and the 25th Precinct Community Council. On June 18th, we're going to have our Art of Healing Festival on East 120th Street at PS7. And then on June 25th, with all these partners here, we're going to be doing a gun buyback because we know getting the guns off the street is essential to this endeavor. So I left them for last on purpose. I want to thank our NYPD partners. And I think it's essential that I say this. We work every day on the enforcement side of the ledger, building cases hand in hand, and that's important. That is an important piece of the puzzle. As your district attorney, we are prioritizing that. But I want to also let you know they're out here on the investment side as well. And they're out here standing shoulder to shoulder with community leaders, like I said, some of whom have been fighting this fight for 50 plus years. So I think we say in some of our places protocols have been observed. I see a couple people have joined us. Our borough president's office, our Congress member. I know I didn't say everyone by name. It's because if I say everyone by name, I get in trouble if I leave one out. I know my folks, but let me just say to the group, because we've been talking about this, we've been talking about the gun buyback. I believe firmly in government and partnership, and that's why we're not down at one Hogan Place. We're here with the community leaders who are going to be talking to folks to get the applications, to talking to folks who are on the ground, because that's how we're going to solve this crisis. So with that, let me stop talking and turn it over to our Congressman Espaillat.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I didn't give you the rousing introduction. I wanted to give people time, but let me just say, we were out last Saturday up in Washington Heights, and it's an honor to serve side by side with the Congress member out in the neighborhoods where the people are.
Thank you. Thank you, DA, for this great initiative. These grants are going to be so helpful to communities and community-based organizations, because prevention is everything. Really, prevention is everything. And of course, this gun buyback program, I look forward to being with the DA as we retrieve these guns from the street. And every time you retrieve a weapon, you could be saving as many as 3 lives. And so this is so important for us to engage in this action. Tomorrow, which is National Day Against Gun Violence, I will be starting the morning at a public school in the Bronx part of the district where there's a lot of gang-related violence. And the school is really, the parents in the school and the administrators of the school are really afraid. And they've asked me to go out there in the morning and speak to the parents about what we can do together to stop this type of violence. Then I will be going to 153rd Street to my old neighborhood where I grew up, Sugar Hill. Many people don't know I'm not from Washington Heights necessarily. I'm from Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill. And so I grew up there on 153rd Street, and we'll be walking from 153rd Street in Amsterdam, and I'll invite the DA with this, to the Grant houses, where he said there's been deaths related to gun violence. And the parents will be walking to tell the rest of the world that we mean that we're meaningful and we're importantly getting engaged in taking back our neighborhoods.
Right.
Okay? And then after that, we'll go up to the vigil in Inwood to raise our voices there as well. But as we speak today, the Judiciary Committee in Congress is deliberating in a package of gun control laws that include, Mr. DA, to raise the lawful age to purchase a semi-automatic weapon. Now, I don't think anybody should have access to a semi-automatic war weapon. It's beyond me why you need to walk around with a war machine in your hand. No one should have access to that, but at the very least, if you're 21, if you're 18, you can't buy a bottle of liquor. If you're 18, you may not be able to purchase a pack of cigarettes, but you can go out and get an R-15. So this piece of legislation will have that. In addition to that, it will establish new federal offenses for the import, sale, manufacturing, and transfer and possession of large capacity magazines in the weapon. It would also establish new federal offenses for gun trafficking and straw purchases and authorizes the seizure of property or proceeds from that offense. It establishes voluntary best practices for the storage of firearms. It also establishes requirements to regulate the storage of firearms, and it builds on the ATF's regulatory of bump stocks. And finally, it regulates ghost guns. And we heard from the DA that he's made, I believe it was last week or last month, 2 arrests on ghost guns. Unfortunately, ghost gun, that's my bill as well as Rep. Cicilline's bill on regulating ghost guns. Now, the President Biden said it, I think, best. You assemble a piece of furniture, and at the end of the day, you have a table, you have a sofa, you have some level of some furniture. But when you assemble a ghost gun, you wind up with a 9mm in your hand. You wind up with a semi-automatic weapon in your hand with no serial number, no way to trace it, and with the capacity to commit a crime, horrendous crimes across the country. So we must regulate them, and this piece of legislation is being dealt with today in the Judiciary Committee, and that we will vote on next week when we go back to Washington is the beginning, I believe, the beginning of what we must do to tackle gun violence across our nation. But DA, thank you for your efforts. I look forward to ensuring that community groups apply for these grants, and also I will be participating with you to get some guns off the street. Thank you so much, and keep the faith.
Next, we're going to hear from Dr. Dukes, who needs no introduction, but you heard me when I said some of us have been working on gun interdiction for more than 50 years. She said, yes, that's right, because she's been at the forefront of every fight for civil rights and public health for decades. So with that, let me introduce Dr. Dukes.
Good morning. Good morning. DA, let me just say I'm 90 years old. Been running for a long time, but I'm not tired yet.
Yes, ma'am.
So I've been on the streets in Harlem, Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester. I have 56 branches of NAACP starting at Niagara Falls all the way to Eastern Long Island. This is not a Harlem problem. This is a nation problem. Mr. Congressman, you all need to start. You need to start there with those persons, and then let me tell you about this DA. I have watched him grow from a young man to law school and now our DA. His aim, he lives here in Harlem. We didn't transplant him.
That's right.
He was born and reared here. So he know these streets. He know the community. We know his name. We can pronounce his name. And so today, what he's bringing to us is something that we need. The mayor of the city said he's going to put more money into summer programs. The governor has pledged to put more money. We need something for our young people to do.
That's right.
Besides looking at TikTok.
Come on. Talk about it.
Looking at all day CNN repeating the same thing. And so I decide I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm going to join them. So if we get them involved with culture, you heard about painting mirrors. Our children are smart. They got so much energy. They intelligent.
That's right.
What we got to do is in the community, along with our elected officials, with our school administrators, with our police department, we got to channel that energy to positive things. And so this program that the DA has outlined, when I got a call from his chief of staff, I was at Medgar Evers College for the graduation, and I got a cab and got over here because I wanted to stand to let our community know that we community leaders, we are your people. You are our people.
Yes.
And let's work together and get this crime out of our community. We want to live. We want our children to live. I don't want anybody to have to make caskets.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm here today, full force. We'll be walking. I can walk. 90. I can walk. Walking in the street with the DA, all up and down Harlem.
That's right.
All up and down East New York, saying, "Come on, black and brown. Let's come together.
That's right.
Let's save ourselves from ourselves."
Thank you so much, Dr. Dukes. And I'm glad you brought the statewide and national perspective from the NAACP. Now we're going to hear from my dear friend Keisha Sutton-James. On behalf, look surprised, but we got to hear from you on behalf of the.
Why would you have me follow Dr.
I was going to introduce you. I'm just going to step out of the way. I was going to introduce you.
Thank you, DA Bragg. So sorry. I didn't mean to chastise you. I seriously though, thank you so much for being our leader, for being 90 and not just able to walk, but able to dance. If y'all haven't seen her do the electric slide, she's got it 1,000%. I wanted to start, frankly, by stating some facts. A couple years ago, gun violence in 2020 became the leading cause of death for young Americans, teenagers, and young adults nationwide, regardless of age, regardless of race. But the fact is that gun violence was the leading cause of death for young black men for years and years and years and years before that. It was a most alarming thing when I discovered it, ahead of cancer, ahead of all the things that we take our children to the doctor for, all the things that we look to prevent, all the things that we as parents, I'm a parent who also grew up here in Harlem, been here my entire life, that we take our kids to the doctor to fight against. Gun violence was the leading cause. So this has always been, not always, but has for a very long time been the leading cause of death for our immediate community, for our young black men, and now it is a nationwide epidemic. And so I too am thrilled to hear about the progress that I pray, frankly, that this time we can finally get something through. Not just the Congress, but the Senate, because that is where the fight really resides, obviously, because on the national stage is where so much of this is going to be answered. But gun violence is not just about getting guns off the street. As the congressman said, it's also preventative. It's not just about reacting to a shooting that has happened. It's about getting to the root causes. Excuse me, and making it so, and this program that the DA is launching is making it so that, that we're giving our children. I'm the mother of two people under 18, our children, an opportunity to not think about the violence, to not, to be steered in other directions, and not. This is the other thing. So we hear so often from the kids, and I know we will be hearing from Stacey Ramos and others, that they're not carrying. I see Russell Schul over here, who's a community leader who's been working with youth for decades. They're not carrying guns just for the swag points. Some are, but they're carrying it to protect themselves. And so taking guns off the street in order to make it so they don't feel like they have to protect themselves will be incredibly helpful. But we need other solutions to curb gun violence. We need multiple solutions to curb gun violence. And as when the DA was running, I remember people would say, is it this, is it that, or is it this solution? He'd say it's in all of the above. We need all of these solutions. And so I applaud him for enacting the violence interrupters and the credible messengers, because those are the people, these are the models that are proven. As he said, beautifying and reclaiming our spaces is a model that has been proven. I learned it as a young child. Many of you recall, some know my grandfather was Percy Sutton. One of the things he always pointed out to me was, always pick up, when you see garbage, pick it up. When we were at the Apollo Theater, he was always out downstairs, down in front of the marquee, picking up the garbage, because it was our responsibility to beautify our community. Not, yes, of course, DSNY, we need to refund DSNY. Yes, it is DSNY's responsibility as well. And I hope that the council will totally refund DSNY. But we also need to reclaim what we are doing in our community. So I applaud the DA for rolling out this innovative program and funding organizations that can have the greatest impact, for conducting the buybacks, for holding those accountable, of course, who do use guns to harm others. But as the congressman said, I'm going to just take it back to this top. The problem does not just start here in New York. We, as we know, have the toughest gun laws, some of the toughest gun laws in the nation. But that's not where the guns are coming from. They're coming from Pennsylvania, as up in Buffalo. They are coming from the Carolinas. They're coming from down south. And so the majority of the gun crimes that are caused that are happening in our neighborhoods are caused by illegal guns that are coming in illegally and modified illegally. So I applaud. I loved everything that I heard in terms of the legislation that's being considered. The only thing I hope that we get added to it is the body armor, the ban on body armor, because I don't understand. The assault weapons, absolutely. So I love the fact that we're raising to 21. It would be great if there were a ban on assault weapons, but also a ban on body armor, because just like the congressman said, I don't understand why someone needs to feel like they're out, in war garb, essentially, in order to conduct their business. So I hope that we will pass that the federal legislation will pass. I applaud the DA for taking these bold steps, and I look forward to seeing so many community organizations benefiting from this, and our community, frankly, flourishing behind these actions. Thank you, Mr. DA.
Thank you to the Deputy Borough President. We have another announcement at the end of this, so I encourage folks to be short. Coming up next, but we would like to invite the Living Redemption Youth Opportunity Hub.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
How everybody doing? How everybody doing? My name is Beloved. This is my brother Rial, and this is Makiba. So we're a program where we give the youth the opportunity to meet themselves.
That's right.
And one of the blessings that we've been having, working with the DA, they've been blessing us with the opportunity to have money to be able to feed our kids, to give them Metro cards, to be able to get them to put their guns down, to get them to change their mindset. One of the biggest things that we realize is that some of the youth didn't realize some of their friends walked their friends to their last hours.
Yes.
So we wanted them to start thinking beforehand. So we became a program, which is Next Step. We got Living Redemption, we got Arches, and these programs is proactive programs where they're given the opportunity to be able to work. And while they working, they call themselves community service.
Yeah.
And the reason why they call community service is because they need to know that they service the community.
That's right.
Yeah.
They need to know in the word community, unity lies in there. And these kids want to be able to do something, because I used to ask pastors all the time, they got everything for somebody to do. What do they got the warriors doing?
Right.
Because they need to be protected and they need to be claiming something. And one of the things that we realize is that this is the place we get a chance to do it at, Soul Saving Station for every nation. This church been here since 1942, going into the community, going into the bars, going after the dope fiends, going after the people that's in the streets, and giving them a chance to isolate and rehabilitate in the same spot. So with this opportunity, we just take advantage of our youth. We meet them where they at. We chase them down. My brothers are also living example. He just came home from prison, and immediately this is what he started doing. He needed something to do. So with that opportunity, now my brother is one of the head people over the program that's directing and meeting the youth where they at. Speak a little bit into it, King.
What does it look like to meet our youth where they at? Our mission is saving lives and healing communities one relationship at a time. And I'm going to say that again. Saving lives and healing communities one relationship at a time. What does that look like? Acknowledging our youth when we see them in the community. Even if we're on our way to work, not looking past them and not acknowledging them. Say hi to them, greet them, let them know that they belong in the community. Tell them what their purpose is. And that's how our youth is losing their way. It's an identity crisis we fighting here. They're going to be resilient, but we would like for them to be resilient in a positive way. But right now they're using resiliency for negativity, and they're going to continue to evolve and increase in violence and negativity if we don't give them places to stay. My brother beloved always talk about we got places to put diamonds, we got places to put jewelry, we even got places to holster guns. But where do we have places for these youth that will participate in the violence, the senseless violence? Where are these spaces? We need to continue to emphasize that this grant, this monies that's being made available to this community, Central Harlem, West Harlem, East Harlem, that they need to continue to funnel down into our communities. Monies is a real resource, and it does empower our youth to know who they are. And what we do here at Living Redemption is tell them their purpose, allow them to contribute to what their value is, allow them to contribute to community service in their community so that they can have value, that they can be stakeholders and know that they are stakeholders. Once again, we are Living Redemption Youth Opportunity Hub. We located over here at 302 West 124th Street. And again, our mission is saving lives and healing communities, one relationship at a time.
And we know something better than saving a dollar, which is what?
Saving a life.
Thank you.
That's right, beloved. Awesome.
Next up, we'd like to introduce Pastor Ramos.
Yes, my girl. My street girl.
That's right. The street preacher, the community pastor. I just want to thank the DA, of course, for doing this. This is an amazing initiative and effort. And one of the reasons that is so important is because he's on the ground with us, as everybody has said. Mama Duke is on the ground with us. NYPD is on the ground with us. When you have a district attorney's office that knows what's going on and is involved and creating monies, as Beloved said, that is a real resource, that's going to get the job done. That's going to get it resolved. I'm Pastor Stacy Ramos, Garden of Gethsemane Ministries, the community pastor. We are all on the street. You saw Mama Hazel Dukes walk around. We are walking together, and we are creating walkable communities. We are making sure that we can walk in our communities, that the young people can stand in our communities, and that it belongs to us. I'm of the phase of we don't have to take it back. It belongs to us. So we have what is ours. So we're not taking anything back. We already know it's ours, so we're just garnering in. We're harnessing in the power that we have in our community, and we're going to walk in it. So I thank everybody here, especially these leaders. These are leaders. Let's forget all of these titles. These are leaders that have been doing this for so very long. And I bless God for them, and I thank God that they're interested and that they care and that they want this to stop. We're going to get it to stop. One relationship, one youth at a time. The last thing I'm going to say, the gang violence, the retaliation. We're on the street with them. We're talking to them. And as Beloved and Doran said, they want something to do. They need something to do. As Mama Duke said, we can give them what they need so that they can make different choices. Everybody has to do it all together, and it will be done. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming for this announcement on our anti-gun violence funding for young people. The DA has another announcement.
All right.
So I want to thank all of our community partners in the NYPD for joining, and obviously we're going to be together a lot more throughout the month of June and throughout the months to come addressing gun violence. I wanted to shift gears with that thanks and gratitude to an issue of concern to the entire borough, and I think to the entire country. A short while ago, the appellate division issued a ruling upholding the conviction of Harvey Weinstein. And so I wanted to address that briefly and start by saying we're gratified by the court's decision today. It upholds a monumental conviction that changed the way prosecutors and courts approach complex prosecutions in sexual cases. I'm grateful to the brave survivors in this case for the remarkable courage and candor, as well as the jurors who dedicated their time and effort to securing a fair and just verdict. Finally, I thank the numerous members of the DA's office, from the trial attorneys to the appellate attorneys, who've dedicated years to securing justice in this case. So with that, we will break. But I wanted to share that what I think is a consequential decision, as I said, for the entire island and indeed the entire country. And we'll just end by thanking the survivors for coming forward in that case, and thank you for our community partners who we've been talking about gun violence, but we stand shoulder to shoulder against all forms of violence. So thanks to all, and thanks to you.